Look at the coefficients on that. We haven't had any hail right now, but right in this area where we was at, we definitely had a couple lowerings. The wall clouds kind of dropped down pretty good. You could really see the inflow up into the storm, but we was getting kind of close to it, and the rain kind of cut us off from the storm, the wall cloud that we could see. So we kind of had to relocate a little bit so we could actually see what was going on. Well, we're going to stay right on this storm that we're on for just a little bit. We're going to try and get another look at it. Maybe the rain will kind of go away, because the last we seen of it, there was some real heavy inflow to it. We never seen any rotation, but we did see a couple good wall clouds. And usually the storm to our north of us went tornado warned, and it seems like a lot of times when that starts happening, some of the storms around us kind of got a tendency to do the same thing if they're in the right atmosphere. Funny with streams just to know Brett enters. Man, it is just rain wrap son of a gun.
Storm chasers are dead after a crash in Spur, Texas, east of Lubbock. This is new video of authorities still working the scene tonight. Those three being identified tonight as Kelly Jean Williamson and Randall Yarnall from Cassville, Missouri. They were on assignment for the Weather Channel. And Corbin Lee Yeager of Peoria, Arizona.
There's two of them. We need to go that way.
No.
Jen, damn it, go back.
We're fine.
Chandler, go the back. I'm not kidding.
Really see that this is a developing situation, developing tornado. There you go. You see it? There you see it.
Yeah.
Now it's on the ground.
That's on the ground.
Got a tornado.
Tornado on the ground.
There's a tornado.
All right, we've got this tornado, and again, this is going to be, I'm still depicting it.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple miles north.
Here in a little bit. Hang on. Okay.
Stop now at the next exit, the next convenience store. Go into a business that will let you in. If you know anybody that maybe doesn't have electricity and cannot watch us or listen to us, make a call. If they live in Tuscaloosa, they live in North, they live in Child, on the campus of the university.
County thing real fast, just because I want to give a heads up that you see this just to the west of Ponca City. This too has a tornado warning on it, and this too is now tracking to the east and to the northeast.
So, you know, as a little kid, I was interested in two things. I was interested in broadcasting, I was interested in weather. Okay, I was kind of a TV news junkie, but I also like to watch the weather. It was a fascinating education in, you know, these storms would come up quickly and the guys would be on TV talking about tornado warnings, and I just found the whole process kind of interesting.
And now your weather with Oklahoma's own Gary England.
Tonight, clear and mild. Then we're going to have warm nights and hot days. Is that a surprise?
You know, as a kid, you always remember the legend Gary England, being in Chickasha. You know, again, I'm in second grade, and he's probably about 10 years into his career, and you know, very young at the time and aggressive, and was to the end. You know, but as my family kind of moved around the country, I can, you know, name drop a few weather guys in different towns. Dave Murray in St. Louis and Jim Ganall in Columbus, Ohio. You know, those were the guys who were the hardcore meteorologists in those times. I think I loved watching whoever's passionate about it. It's like when you watch a baseball or football game. And if the announcer's into it, you're into it. But if they're bored, you're bored. And that's how I was. Those guys were into it. They loved it. You could tell every day, even on the quiet, boring days, they were still excited to be there. I like that contagious excitement.
States. Now for us, the increase of clouds
It's not really a storm, it's just this slug of moisture that's coming in from the Pacific. You can just see this feeding in, so a lot of cloud cover in this.
In 1985, little old Joplin didn't have a PBS affiliate, but I saw that Nova had a special on about storm chasers.
Across the United States each year, 1,000 tornadoes suddenly take shape. And those that find targets kill more than 100 people and cause $300 million in damage.
And my dad had a satellite dish. Now this isn't DirecTV or Dish Network. This is a satellite dish that's big as a house. And I had to go tune it in. Boy, I saw this was on and I was going to watch it.
But now modern science is fighting back. And these storm chasers in Oklahoma are pursuing the elusive tornado as never before, daring to get close enough to unravel its mystery, and possibly one day accurately predict and even help prevent its wrath. Tornado, tonight on Nova.
And I sat there and watched the whole thing, and I recorded it on tape. And then when it was over, I watched it on tape again. And at that was it. I just know it was the middle of the winter, and that was it. I was hooked.
They're part of the National Severe Storms Lab in Norman, Oklahoma, and they call themselves storm chasers.
It changed everything. Initially, it was researchers, a few little hobbyists, okay, but mainly meteorologists or the TV guys, because about early 90s is when Oklahoma City, who really kind of started the push towards storm chasing, started sending the chasers out in the field. Then the movie came out in 96.
The challenge is saving lives. The research is deadly. The laboratory is nature itself.
And potentially could be a storm that has a winds in excess of 200 miles an hour. Let's assume the worst at this point.
Joe! Bill! It's coming!
And everybody knew about it. It was no longer a secret that we just knew about down here, okay? I can kind of track in my mind the difference between the number of people that we saw out there in 91, the number of people that you saw out there in 98, where it was starting to grow. And then let's go a few years further, and then comes along data with cell phones, and then social media, and then live streaming that anybody can do, okay? And now it's a frenzied mess out there. The problem of it now is there's so many people out there that it's like NASCAR, okay? People are actually driving and watching the data at the same time and they're not paying attention to the road, or there's 60 guys and they're way too close. And I'm not saying they don't have a right to be out there. I want that to be very clear, because who am I to say that? I'm out there. It does not surprise me one bit about what happened out in West Texas. It's very tragic. But it goes to show you that sometimes around that thing, it's such a zoo. It's a spectator sport. And that's March, early April. You're not to the peak yet. In May is when it really gets silly, because you've got people that sell seats on chase tours. They exist.
Extreme Chase Tour!
Yeah! May is prime time. And if you want a seat, people fly in from all over the world to go see them. 1,500 to sometimes, it goes into the thousands for a week. Now that includes your hotel, but food's on you. For a good seat, if I remember right, and I'm totally just speaking here, they can go for $3,000 to $4,000. Now the pressure's on that guy driving the vehicle. And if there's a good day in central Oklahoma, they're all gonna be there. And they're trying to get closest because they want the word to get out that you got your money's worth. Oh yeah, they're selling seats. They've been doing it for quite a while. They have every right in the world to be there. The problem of it is there are some that completely understand the rules of the road and being safe, and they're willing to forego. And then there are some that will do whatever it takes to get right there.
As soon as you see that inflow jet get close, back up. Seriously! Back up! Back up! Okay, keep going, keep going, keep going.
You gotta understand, it is competitive. And if you get out there, it's like You're a top name in a field with a lot of people. Hey, such and such got that video, okay? You're famous. It's celebrity.
Let it go. We gotta let it go. We gotta let it go, guys. Back up. Turn into the wind. Turn into the wind. Turn into the wind. Oh, boy.
These guys are celebrities. These people have tens of thousands of people following them on Twitter and Facebook, and maybe tens, in some cases, maybe hundreds of thousands, okay? They're celebrities. Now, you're only as good as your last movie. So now you got to do it again. I do think it becomes a game of one-upsmanship. I mean, want to be the one that's just a little bit closer. It's got that unique view. It's in 4K. I'm going to speed it up in time lapse. I'm going to put it out there on YouTube. Now I can monetize it, or I'm going to sell the video for something. That happens a lot. Now I'm making profit off of it. Everybody's got every right to be there, and yes, it's very helpful to get what's really going on. But let's just use some common sense. And that's the danger of trying to get so close. Yes, your video gets all over YouTube and it gets a gazillion views. Okay, I get it. Or you get the likes and the shares and now everybody's following your page and now you're an expert. Okay, I understand where that is nowadays. But the other side of it is you're not in control.
We don't know if this thing can change directions. We're not experts.
You know, when I went to Moore on May 20th, 2013, my daughter was just over 2 months old. And I thought of the children that were impacted when it hit the school, and so that made that harder. I came home, I went home that night, and we got to realize we got cut off. So in other words, we went I-44, I watched the thing form over here, I watched it explode right in front of me, and then it goes east I-44 and gets wrapped in rain. The road gets blocked, we don't see it, we can't drive any further, we're done. We drove around and we went back home. I was home by 6 o'clock. The thing happened at 3:30. But, you know, I went home and looked at my daughter and I thought, you know, this is different than in the past. You know, once you have that little 4-year-old, I'm an older first-time parent. Okay, so I mean, I'm 41 years older than she is. So, you know, I don't get quite all the time, but I want as much of it as I can get away with. And I've seen storms, and I'm willing to drive all the way to Nebraska and pull back out because I'm in danger. It's not worth it. And there's a whole car full of people. Everybody in that car is my age, and we all get the point. Everybody's kids are kind of different. I'm the one with the youngest by far, okay? There's one guy's kid's about going to college. But we're all like, no, we want to go home. You know, we don't have to be the front of the line. We can be at the back of the line. We're okay with it.
We have a new tornado warning to tell you about. It's for portions of...
We've already talked about the drill. Honey, if there's a warning, believe me, Mom or Dad will come flying in here. You will see us. We will get you. We will go down there. The first tornado warnings were issued in Oklahoma City. The Weather Bureau wasn't issuing tornado forecasts before the 1950s. They wouldn't do it. They were afraid it would scare people. First tornado forecast came from the Air Force. What happened was Tinker got hit by a tornado and there was no heads up and they lost like millions of dollars back in 1950s money in aircraft. And the general was furious, and so they assigned these two forecasters to try to come up, look at what happened, come up with a tornado forecast. And they spent a few days and came up with something. And a few days later, not a few weeks, not a few months, but a few days later, they saw the same conditions come up. Fall, Bush, and Miller were their names. And so they kind of crept in and they said, hey, listen, you know, we're seeing this again. And the general was like, is there going to be a tornado or not? And the guy said, yes. They saw the same conditions. And it happened. But they had gotten all the airplanes secure. And that's how this whole thing started. And then Oklahoma City television station used the tornado forecasts. And then the government started issuing tornado alerts or whatever, and all of a sudden everybody realized this was a great thing. It wasn't a scary thing, it was a great thing. I think they thought it would be a scary thing because they didn't know how to really do it. And these guys just did it because a whole bunch of, this happened. A tornado warning back in 1985, before we had all this technology that we have now. A tornado warning back in 1985 meant that the tornado had been on the ground for 3 minutes. So imagine a tornado on the ground in 3 minutes in the city of Stillwater with no warning on it. Imagine what's going on in that time. And then the warning comes out. Okay, it's already hit all these houses, you're next. That's what a warning was. Then Doppler radar came along where you could see the wind. Now you got 15 minutes heads up. Now it changes. And I got to tell you, just when it was 15 minutes ahead of time, I think people were skeptical until, 5 or 10 minutes after the warning came out, I actually did. It's like, oh my goodness, we still had, it may have been a little early, but we still had all this warning.
What we want to develop is what's called warn on forecast. Rather than developing forecasting models where we say, well, there's a large region where we have an elevated risk for severe storms, which is maybe very broad, and this may last for 6 to 8 hours.
And it's not just, listen, they've been around a while. What he's trying to figure out, in my mind, now I haven't asked him this question, but he's trying to take it to the next level. What are the other applications for this? I love what they're trying to do with the tornado research, because I think part of it is, I don't know if Jamie intended to do this or not, but getting up in the air, now you're getting away from the zoo. UAV is brilliant. But you can get a whole army of them out there in that pre-storm environment and figure out what's going on.
We're using the expertise from all 4 of the different partner universities. So that includes Oklahoma State University, which is focused on the unmanned aerial vehicles, and University of Oklahoma, which is focused on meteorology. The other 2 being Kentucky and Nebraska, to really solve this very complex problem. And the gist of it, again, is be able to develop systems that we can measure what's going on in the atmosphere.
Being able to use UAV for a TV station, what sets them apart right now here in Oklahoma City is the ability to have a helicopter or not. You've got to keep in mind, you only have one. And that one, you've got to pay to maintain it. But with these, we've got a UAV in my office. We have 8 batteries, fully charged. Okay, get it back down. How long does it take you to land one of those things? 30 seconds at most. Flip the battery, back up. Simple.
Storm chasing is a vital part of the severe weather forecasting process because you'll have to really have eyes on a storm, particularly in terms of a cyclone or a tornado, to be able to confirm it. Because just because you're picking it up on a radar does not necessarily mean that you have a tornado on the ground. So storm chasers and meteorologists rely on storm chasers to be able to get this visual data for them. And that's very dangerous when you're doing that. So having a UAV that would provide you some standoff distance, so you could be now 5 or 10 miles away from the storm, but still have a live video feed that not only goes back to the storm chaser who's controlling the vehicle, but also to the meteorologist live, and so that way they can confirm whether there's an actual tornado or not. What we want to get to is to the point where we can say there's going to be a tornado in this county in an hour.
Nobody has answered the collective question. What's the thing that sets us from no tornado to tornado? What are we missing here? Because when we can answer the question, you've now increased the warning time. Remember how I told you before, it used to be 3 minutes after the tornado touched down, now it's 15 minutes before. Now what is it if it's an hour? What does that look like? That's a whole other world. That's something we've never thought about.